All right, we'll just give a couple more minutes for people to join. It's lovely to see so many people with us this lunchtime. And we're aware that people are joining from all over the world now, which is wonderful. So whatever time it is for you, thank you for joining us here in Tasmania. And I'll make a start, I think, on the webinar. So just like to pay our respects to the elders past and present. We're meeting here today on the land of the Palawa people in Lutruwita, who are the traditional owners of this land on which we live and work. And as a university, we stand for a future that profoundly respects and acknowledges the Aboriginal perspectives, culture, language and history. So I'm delighted today to be introducing the rest of the panel. I think most of you know me now. My name is Jane Alty. I'm a neurology doctor at the Royal Hobart Hospital, and I'm also a Parkinson's researcher here at the university. So I wear a few different hats. And along with Michelle Calisea, who can't be here today, we are the co-leads of the Tasmanian Parkinson's project. But this webinar is very much in partnership today with Parkinson's Tasmania. We've got two wonderful people here from Parkinson's Tasmania, Claire and Malcolm, who I'll just let introduce themselves. Over to you, Claire.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Jane. Thanks so much for inviting me today. I'm Claire Myers. I'm the incoming chair at Parkinson's Tasmania. I've been with Parkinson's Tasmania for about 18 months now. And Mal?
Yeah, my name is Malcolm McGinn. I'm one of the fellow board directors for Parkinson's Tasmania. I've only been with the group for coming up toward a year, and really enjoying the work that we're doing and making good progress. And in a little while, I'll talk to you about a bit of a fundraising adventure that we're in the throes of getting ready to launch very shortly.
Thank you, Malc, and Sam, who's a familiar face in our webinars. I'll let Sam introduce herself.
Yeah, hi all, I'm Sam. I'm a PhD candidate working with Jane on sleep and prodromal Parkinson's, and also helping out with some of our Tasmanian Parkinson's project work.
Thank you, Sam. And I've just put on the bottom there because I forgot to tell everyone this last time, and I think that led to lots of confusion. So we're a really interactive webinar. We love questions, we love your ideas and comments. And if you look at the bottom of your screen, but on some people's computers at the top of the screen, within the sort of Zoom frame, there's a little icon that says Q&A. And if you click on that, you can just type your questions directly into that. And then what will happen at the end, Sam will put those questions to our panelists or put them to me. And we really enjoy that interactive element of our webinar. Now, Sam, just correct me. Is it the Q&A or is it the chat this time?
It is definitely the Q&A. Yep, I think everyone can only see the Q&A.
Thank you, Sam. So it's the Q&A, put your questions in. No question is too basic. I think it's really nice to get that conversation flowing. So if you think of a question as you're going along, just type it in and hopefully we'll get to it at the end. Now, before we move on to the main act, which is really Claire and Malcolm, I just wanted to give you a quick update on the Tasmanian Parkinson's project. This will literally take 2 minutes because I know that's not really what you joined for. But I just wanted to say it's been a really good news story. We started the Tasmanian Parkinson's project just over a year ago, February 2024, and we said we were aiming for 5,000 participants. And to be honest, we thought that was going to take a few years, and we've just been really shocked that already about 3,500 people have signed up. So thank you to everyone that's already signed up. And in that time, we've had all sorts of interactive events. We've had webinars, like one of these today. We've sent out some newsletters. On our website, we've got things like new news around Parkinson's on the website. And now we're really trying to move into sort of an area of research. We're trying to find better ways of managing and diagnosing Parkinson's. So you get an opportunity to be invited to those studies. And I promise you don't have to come into the university. There's lots of these that can be done from home. And we sent out our first questionnaires last year, which had a wonderful response. And we found that about 1/3 of people in the project have Parkinson's. but about 2/3 don't. So thank you to everyone, because as a community, that's how we're really going to make a difference. You've probably seen in the latest newsletter another good news story that we've just attracted a big piece of governmental research funding for a project led by Michelle. I've got her lovely smile up there, a picture of Michelle, who's the co-lead. And for Parkinson's Net, she is the lead of this big project, which you'll be hearing lots more about. But it's going to be a research project based in Victoria and Tasmania. And it's all around really offering better care through allied health. So that's things like physiotherapies and occupational therapy and so on. But we'll have more about that coming up. And then you've probably also heard about the MOOC. I didn't know what a MOOC was till I moved to Tasmania 6 years ago, but it stands for the Massive Open Online Course. And we were lucky enough to get some funding to make one of these massive open online courses all about Parkinson's. So we had about 100 people around the world doing videos and interviews for us. And this course that only opened in February has already had 24,000 people around the world do this course. And I put 5 stars there because it's actually been rated as 4.9 out of 5 stars on a sort of an independent rating website. So people like the MOOC, and each of those red dots, the size of the dot represents how many people in that country have done the MOOC. So you can see lots of them are from Australia and Europe, but you can also see most countries, we're getting a few people to do the MOOC. And that's really important, isn't it? Because it tries to educate people more about Parkinson's and dispel some of those myths and stigma and so on. So thank you to everyone who's done the MOOC or contributed to the MOOC. It has briefly closed actually to new enrolments because we're going to analyse people's feedback and then launch it again in a few months. So what's coming up next? There's a really exciting computer test called TasTest. That stands for Tasmanian Test. I'll tell you about that in a moment. A few more questionnaires. We've got some more webinars coming up. We're going to try and do about 1 a month. And some people will be inviting into the university to have some further tests if they would like to, analysing movement and cognition and so on. So just briefly, we will be inviting everybody in the Tasmania Parkinson's Project to take part in TasTest, which is like a little computer test that if you've got a laptop at home or a desktop, we'll probably do it through a smartphone as well. We're going to ask people to effectively do little tests like tapping their fingers or holding their hands steady, and the computer can measure the speed of those movements. And what is the point of all of this? Well, we're trying to develop a better test to help people in the future have a more accurate diagnosis. But we're also looking to give tools back to people who are living with Parkinson's so they can track their own condition really from home. So we're trying to enable people to have really precise measurements so they can work out what they should be doing with their medications and so on. So please take part if you get one of these invites, but you'll be hearing a bit more about that over the coming months. So this is just to say, please spread the word. We want to hit that 5,000 number. Everybody in Australia with or without Parkinson's is really welcome to join the project. And the more people that join, the more we can really spread the information, good education, and work as a community together. So thank you to everyone that's already joined. And as I say, please ask your friends and your family. It costs nothing. It's a really great website, great resource. And hopefully together we can really start to do some exciting research to improve lives of people living with Parkinson's. So that's enough from me. I'd like to hand over to Claire from Parkinson's Tasmania, who's going to give us a really informative talk about what Parkinson's Tasmania offers. Over to you, Claire.
Thanks, Jane, and thanks everyone for joining us today. It's a real privilege to be part of this webinar. So my name's Claire. As mentioned before, I'm the incoming chair of Parkinson's Tasmania. I've been with Parkinson's Tasmania for about 18 months now. And really, with our vision, purpose and strategy, Sam, if you can just pop onto the next slide, please. We have a vision around a Tasmanian Parkinson's community that's empowered to improve their well-being by living full lives, full and active lives. And for us, we've been around for about 40 years. We've been working at grassroots level throughout Tasmania for the last 40 odd years, and we're really moving into a new phase, I guess, of how we can support and advocate for our Tasmanian Parkinson's community. So you can see a beautiful photo of my dad on the screen here. And I think it's really important, especially in the Parkinson's community, we're walking this journey together. And for me, the reason why I reached out to Parkinson's Tasmania, we're a not-for-profit organisation, we're entirely voluntary, was my dad. My dad had Parkinson's. He was diagnosed probably around 55 years of age, but we'd really noticed some characteristics, I guess we now know, that's associated with the Parkinson's condition with Dad for years leading up to his diagnosis. But I guess Dad's story and our story as a family was Dad was the most positive, optimistic person in the world. He was always active. He was really committed to tackling his Parkinson's. It didn't define him. He travelled, my mum and dad travelled the world, they drank Guinness, they actively involved in our family. Nothing really would hold Dad back. So I guess the message for me and the legacy for Dad is stepping out and giving back and paying it forward, I guess, for what the Parkinson's community did for us and our family as Dad went through his Parkinson's journey. So for me, it's really personal. And I guess it's, yeah, everything I do in in memory of my dad, and it's opened up such a beautiful world for me, being part of Parkinson's Tasmania over the last 18 months. So that's why Parkinson's Tasmania is important to me. So I might just get you to pop into the next slide, please, Sam. So what do we actually do here at Parkinson's Tasmania? So we are a not-for-profit. We're entirely voluntary, as I said. We've been doing amazing work in our community for up to 40, more than 40 years. So really we work hand in hand with the Parkinson's community right across Tasmania. One of the key things we do is facilitate skilled and knowledgeable support. So you may have heard about our support groups that we have across Tasmania. We have one here in Hobart in the south, we have one in Launceston and one in Ulverston. And each of those areas, we actually have a support group for people living with Parkinson's. And we also have a separate support group for their carers or their families. The feedback is that people like to have the separate support groups. I guess people talk about different things in their support groups, so I'd actively encourage anyone, if a support group is your thing, to reach out to us and come along to one of our support groups. I think they're held monthly across the state, and would be delighted if you reached out and wanted to be part of the support group. We have a website, which I'll share with you later on in the slide pack. We have a Facebook page and an Instagram page. So we're really coming into the 21st century in terms of spreading the word. So through those platforms, we really like to try and keep people up to date. We have a monthly newsletter, so you can also find our monthly newsletter on our website, or you can actually become a member if you like, and you'll get a hard copy of the journal, the newsletter, sent to your home address on a monthly basis. So it's really about information, it's about support. We also have a phone number, which will be at the end of the slide pack as well. There's always a friendly voice at the end of the phone. We know from our community that often people are provided with a diagnosis, and it can be quite, well, generally life altering. And oftentimes there's quite a lot of time between diagnosis and seeing a specialist. So if you need support, someone to talk to, we obviously can't give you medical advice, but we can point you in the right direction of some ways in which you can get some information and equip yourself with that knowledge. So that's probably the key piece that has been a consistent part of the work that we've been doing over the last 40 years and will continue to in the future. Just go to the next slide, please, Sam. So Jane mentioned before too Parkinson's Net and how important that is, and an incredible way for Tasmania really to look at how we can apply a multidisciplinary approach to Parkinson's care. Here at Parkinson's Tasmania, wrapping our arms around our community through our clinicians, our nurses, and the wider allied health community is so fundamental to really working through what's going on with you in your Parkinson's journey, either a person living with Parkinson's or as a carer or a family member, really to make sure that you've got great support and really empower you to manage the condition, your condition, in a way that works for you. So we are working really hard to build on existing relationships and collaborate right across the state with our allied health professionals, and I'll talk a bit more about that in an upcoming slide. Just the next slide there. So something that we're really proud of is that we are the leading voice for Parkinson's in Tasmania, and one of the big pieces of work that we do day in, day out is advocating for the Tasmanian community. We do it softly behind the scenes at a state and federal level, in our communities, at a local level. And we've got some examples on the screen there. So most recently, we actually submitted to the Department of Health just yesterday a submission in relation to the preventative health strategy that the health department has for the next 20 years. So we worked really collaboratively across the Parkinson's cohort in Tasmania to pull together a fabulous document, and we'll make it available on our website, around some of our ideas around preventative health and what the Tasmanian government can do in partnership with us to ensure that we can prevent Parkinson's. Of course, we know that there's no cure at the moment, and we're still working very hard in the research area around what causes Parkinson's, but certainly there's some key things from a preventative health point of view that the Tasmanian government can lead, and we'd be delighted to be working closely with the state government over the coming years to make sure what we do here at Parkinson's Tasmania is aligned with the state government. The other really exciting thing too is that we work really closely at a federal level. I'm privileged enough to be a director on the National Parkinson's Alliance, which Jane may have spoken to or Michelle may have spoken to in previous. It's essentially it's a national alliance, and we're working really hard to develop a national Parkinson's action plan. There's no federal or Australia-wide action plan or care framework for Parkinson's that was recognised some time ago, and we're working really hard right across Australia to develop a national Parkinson's action plan, and we would look to that going forward in the work that we do. Again, another great example of collaborating with our friends and colleagues right across Australia to advocate for Tasmania specifically, but also more broadly the Parkinson's community. And one of the other really important things that we're doing is advocating for change and really breaking that stigma of who Parkinson's impacts. In all the old literature, you'll see a picture of an old frail man with a tremor, but we're working really hard to break that stigma. As you may have learnt in previous webinars, Parkinson's impacts everyone. It's not just an old man's condition, and we're seeing more and more early onset and young onset in Parkinson's, which is really confronting, but it's really important that those people are seen and heard. So yes, this is a bit of a snapshot of the work that we do, as I said, on a volunteer basis here at Parkinson's Tasmania. So Sam, if you just click to the next slide, please. So here's some lovely logos of some of the incredible people that we work across and organisations that we work across here in Tasmania. Jane specifically mentioned the MOOC, and if you have enrolled and haven't completed the course, I'd strongly recommend that you get online and complete the course. I was privileged enough to be involved in some of the little videos there, talking from lived experience about what my family observed and what we lived through with Dad, working with partners right across Australia, but also to the MS Plus Wellbeing Centre here in Hobart, where we're trying to learn about how we can collaborate. So always interested in opportunities to collaborate with friends and colleagues throughout Tasmania. And of course, being part of the webinar today on the Tasmania Parkinson Project. Go to the next slide. So here's a link. Hopefully the slide pack will be circulated at the end of the webinar. There's ways that you can learn more about us. We've got a website, we've got a Facebook page, we've also got an Instagram page for those people that are super social savvy. And we also offer a membership as well, which is one of our key ways in which we receive revenue to keep our work going. There's also a mobile phone number there. That's the number you can call if you need support. And look, we'd be delighted, as I said, if you would join us as a member. We're here to work together with the Tasmanian community. And again, and Mal will talk in a little minute about the incredible Subarus campaign that's being launched in a moment. We always, of course, would be delighted to accept donations. There's a QR code there. We really are getting into the 21st century. So if anyone would like to make a donation to Parkinson's Tasmania, that would be incredible. We really appreciate that. So that's all for me today. Thanks for listening. And I'd like to introduce my friend and colleague, Malcolm McGinn. Mal joined about 12 months ago, I think, Mal, the Parkinson's board, and we've been working really, really closely together to launch an incredible campaign called Subaru's Crossing the Simpson. So I'd like to just hand over to Mal now. He can tell you a little bit about the campaign and what he's been up to.
Thanks, Claire. Thanks, Jane and Sam. Thank you for the opportunity to come along today, and I just hope I can do everything justice. The background information that Claire spoke about is it's just it in a nutshell in regards to why I'm so pleased to be a part of this board and a part of the work that they're doing. I've lived in Hobart for about 35 years. Prior to that, I lived in Launceston for about 30. So I think I'm a Tasmanian through and through. Currently work for RACT Insurance, and I've been here about 27 years. And I work here as their lead home assessor. I have some life experience with Parkinson's when my dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's about 15 years ago. Sadly, he died about 10 years ago. And I was diagnosed about 4 years ago with Parkinson's. Since then, I've learned just how widespread this dreaded disease actually is. As many of you would be aware, it affects about 38, 39 new people every day of the week. So it's quite prolific, and we're keen to try and do our bit to try and help those people as best we possibly can. A close group of my friends discussed multiple ideas on what we could do to help spread the message regarding this disease, and maybe even raise a few dollars to put toward research or put toward helping finding a cure. And we kicked a number of different things around, and we went around in circles for quite a while before one of my mates came up with this idea of, how about we go camping for a month out in the outback? And there was sort of deathly silence in the room, and then someone piped up and said, well, that's not really that exciting. And my friend piped up and said, oh no, we wouldn't be doing it in our Prados and our Land Cruisers and our air-conditioned patrols, because that'd be way too easy. We'll do it in little old Subarus. And once again, the room went quiet, and agreement was reached that that'd be quite a challenging way of spending a month in the outback. And it generally came together that we'd attempt to cross the Simpson Desert, which is about 500 kilometres across, and in the vicinity of 1,100, just over 1,100 sand dunes. So the challenge was set. We had 5 very generous people line up to build these cars. They built them, or bought them and rebuilt them entirely out of their own funds. So that it's something we're quite proud of, that all the costs involved in this trip, be it petrol, be it Spirit of Tasmania, be it accommodation, are all funded by the people who are participating, so that any money that's donated toward the cause actually goes to the nominated research and or assistance in any way we want to help the research fellows. One of the things that I've been quite intentional about, and that's surrounding myself with very positive people, realistic positive people, if I can put it that way. One of the key messages they've always belted me pretty hard with is, don't get distracted by what you can't do. Focus on what you can actually do. And this event is, well, it's as a result of that guidance that my friends and myself have put together. What we sort of recommend is that you find what you enjoy and find people, like-minded people. One of the other charities that I'm involved in, well, charity is probably not quite the right word, but it's Men's Sheds. They do a great job supporting particularly men that have just retired and suddenly find themselves at a bit of a loose end. But as I say, the key message for me is, find what works for you and go and pursue it and enjoy it, and don't get distracted if you're having trouble doing your buttons up or something like that. The cars have been worked on off and on for literally a year now, and we've got 4 Subaru station wagons and 1 Subaru Ute, and the 5 vehicles are leaving Tasmania on 3 of the vehicles are leaving Tasmania on Friday the 13th of June. So for months and months I've been going, oh yes, no, we've got 18 months, we've got 12 months, we've got 6 months to get them ready. And all of a sudden, we've got less than 3 weeks, and we've still got quite a few little jobs to tick off. But it's going very well, and it's quite encouraging what's being achieved. As I say, a huge amount of work's gone into this, and the participants are just sacrificing their time and their hard-earned cash, and they're just keen to make the best of it as we possibly can. One thing I'd encourage people to do is to go onto the Parkinson's Tas Facebook page, have a good read around the Facebook page. Below that, if you scroll down, you'll find the Subarus Crossing the Simpson Desert page, and then there's associated pages there giving descriptions on why we're doing what we're doing, how we're doing it, how we're funding it, and I'd encourage people to follow those pages as participants progress on over the next few weeks. When we're out on the road or out in the dirt, wherever we might end up, when we're out in the sand dunes, we'll be taking video clips of each other and emailing those back to our publicist, who's very kind and doing a great job keeping everything up to date, and people will be well informed in regards to how we're going, who's had a flat tire, who's broken broken their car or whatever the case may be, who's got bogged, or if luck might have it, it's plain sailing for the 5 of us, but time will tell on that point. As some of you would also be aware, the weather's been pretty horrendous over the last 3 months or so in regards to heavy rain that's come into southeast Queensland and the northern corner of New South Wales, and a lot of that water's coming down through where we actually plan on going. So we're not sure how that's going to affect us, but we're just going to do the best we can without getting our little Subarus lost in a torrent of a river or something, and hopefully we can come up with some good times for the 5 or the 10 guys that are involved in the trip and the 5 little cars. Now, we did have a video that we made up at Bridport to show. I'm afraid there's been a technical glitch with the video, but we'll.
Mal,
yep.
I'm glad to say we've managed to fix it in the background, so we
can
play it whenever you're ready.
Okay. Yeah. Well, on that note, just briefly, a couple of us went up to Bridport a few weeks ago. Our publicist very kindly organised some very capable cameramen to film us, and we used it as a bit of a test to see what the Subarus would be like in sand, and 3 words came to mind: gutless, powerless, and easily bogged. So we've got a bit of practicing to do in the meantime, but what I might do is just hand over to Jane to flip the magic switch to play the video. Thanks, folks.
Thank you, Malk. I hope this plays. I've been trying to fix it in the background. I'm always nervous of technology. Here we go.
A group of my mates have got together.
Sorry, Malk, I've managed to mess it up. Let me try again.
A group of my mates have got together and agreed to build these cars, and going to try and raise a few dollars to support extra research into the causes and possible cures for Parkinson's. We were looking at doing it in big 4-wheel drives, but the general consensus was that was way too easy, so we decided to build these little old Subarus.
Why Subarus?
It was decided by someone who's not here that he wanted to make things tougher than they should be.
Off the bitumen, out the back of nowhere, fairly isolated, and anything could go wrong, and it just might.
Every one of them's been built, rebuilt and built again.
And what's it all about?
We're planning on crossing the Simpson Desert.
So it's been 4,000 hours, 28 days, 8,000 kilometres. Five Subarus, 10 guys, all nutbags.
I've been diagnosed with Parkinson's about 4 years ago, and it is progressive.
As a good mate, you try and get behind your friends and help them along, of course, yeah.
What's it like living with Parkinson's?
You're allowed to say shit house on the camera. It's challenging at times. You have good days, you have not so good days.
You're right.
I've seen how it's affected Malcolm, not sort of physically, but mentally. Initially, I was asked by Malcolm to build a car with him. So it was a decision that I made that I'm keen to do the trip, but I'd like to drive my own car. And we were rising for the challenge. We were excited by that.
I'm in the privileged position that I've surrounded myself with very positive people. It's fun at one level, but it's hard jacker at another level. It affects
thousands of people. It's in the vicinity of 40 people every day are diagnosed. I'm doing this because we can, and we're able to.
As soon as we get behind the wheel and the morning that we head towards the boat, I know that that's when it's time now to enjoy ourselves and hope that we've prepared the cars well enough to give us a trouble-free run.
Wow, Malk, that's an amazing, amazing video. Sorry for my technical glitches there, pressing the wrong buttons and so on. We got there in the end though, so
You did well.
I mean, you've got one more slide. I'll just move through. You want to say anything else to that, or have you?
No, look, that's just a brief summary of what we're doing, and some of the support we've had from the fellow board members has been quite amazing. And you know, Claire's taken a particular interest in what we're doing, and the top two shots are just a bit of background where the boys have literally been pulling engines out and rebuilding suspension parts and just going right over these poor little cars that we're going to give an absolute bollocking for just over 4 weeks. But I'm confident they're up to it as much as the owners and the drivers are up to it.
So there's some lovely bits and pieces on the slide there. If anyone wants to follow Mal on the journey.
Yeah, how do they follow Mal actually, Claire? What's the best way?
Oh, if you go back to the last little slide there, Sam, I think there's a link to our Facebook page and you can follow along. I think we've got a map and everything that we'll track Mal and his mates going through. What date do you take off?
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th,
Yes.
heading up to the
Spirit.
Heading up to the ferry.
Yep, we've got a launch here at RACT House mid-morning on Friday the 13th, where we hope a little bit of media might turn up and a few members of the public to cheer us off when we leave at midday.
Heading up to the Spirit of Tasmania, heading across Bass Strait, and then heading up to the Simpson.
That's it. We're taking a bit of a. Well, we've got a 5 alternate routes, and because of the weather, it's a little bit all over the place. But the general gist is that we go from Geelong across to Adelaide, across to Port Augusta, to Ceduna, which a lot of people would know when they're driving across to Perth. And when we get to Ceduna, we then head inland, and we go across a practice run for the Simpson called Goog's Track, and that's about 250 kilometres and about 240 sand dunes. So we figure if we can practice on that, get ourselves organised, and then hopefully we can go up and have a bit of a play up at the Simpson. We might do it with a little less incidents if we can at least.
Yeah, so please follow Mal, and I know I'll be watching with interest to see how they cope with all that sand. I think we've got satellite phones and some cool stuff, some cool tech, so we can make sure that we track them. There'll be lots of videos and updates as Mal and his mates head across the Simpson.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mal and Claire, for coming today at the webinar. We're just fascinated by everything that you're doing, and just fantastic awareness work, community. It's wonderful. I'd just like to remind everyone that we're a really inclusive and collaborative group here at the Tasmanian Parkinson's Project. And if you have been listening to this and thinking, I would like to share my story or do a webinar, please get in touch. This is what we're all about, working with the community and for the community. Just email us. We'd love to hear from you. Or if you have special skills like marketing or arranging community events or anything where you just think, I know how to get involved, please get in touch with us. We're a new group and we're looking to work with the community. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and we're just going to move on to our Q&A part of the webinar. I think we've got about 20 minutes, and no doubt there'll be lots of questions coming in. You can ask us was going to say you can ask us anything. Maybe that's not true. You can ask us about Parkinson's Tasmania, about Mal's Big Challenge, about Parkinson's more generally, or the Tasmanian Parkinson Project, the MOOC, anything. So we're here to answer your questions, and Sam will be posing your questions to us. Over to you, Sam.
Okay, well, we only have one question so far, so if you do have any questions for Claire, Malcolm or Jane, please pop them in the Q&A box. But the question we've got is probably even more for you, Jane. Someone has asked or said that their friend has told them that he was cured of the stiff body form of Parkinson's. As I believe there's no cure, is it possible he was misdiagnosed, or is it in remission and may return?
Let me just check that I've got understood that correctly. Somebody's heard that there's a cure for Parkinson's, is that correct?
Somebody has been told that someone was cured of the stiff body form of Parkinson's. So is it possible he was misdiagnosed, or could it be in remission and may return?
Gosh, it's always hard, isn't it, to comment on individual cases. I'm wondering if that might be a condition. There's a condition called stiff person syndrome, which is a good description. It's basically where people's muscles become really stiff, and sometimes it's misdiagnosed as Parkinson's, but it's actually like an autoimmune disorder. So you can treat it with things like steroids and related to that. So whether that is what they're describing, I'm not sure. I think, unfortunately, at the moment, we don't have a cure for Parkinson's. This is why we're doing so much research. We're looking for that cure, or we're looking for that medication that can really stop it in its tracks. We're not quite there yet, but actually in terms of protecting the brain and trying to stop the progression of the condition, there's lots of really interesting research emerging about the power of exercise and physical activity. And I think that's pretty strong evidence now that people who do more exercise, do more physical activity, we seem to be able to slow the progression down a little bit. So that's a positive note.
We haven't had any more questions come through yet. Oh, hold on. There's one. There was an article in the National Seniors Australian about a Parkinson's breakthrough.
Okay. Well, I'll look out for that. That's good to know. I have a question for Claire, actually. With my doctor hat on, a lot of people come to my clinic and they've maybe just been diagnosed. And there's that shock period, isn't there, where they're thinking, gosh, I really didn't want this condition. But are Parkinson's Tasmania able to offer anything around support groups, either for the person with Parkinson's or a family member? I'm just interested to know what sort of services Parkinson's Tasmania have now.
Thanks, Jane. We do have support services right across Tasmania. I think it's really important that we make sure that we look after our community right across the state. So we have support groups in Hobart, in Launceston and in Ulverston. And we have two types of support groups, I guess, in each of those locations. We have support groups specifically for people living with Parkinson's, and we also have support groups separately for their carers and their families. So there's actually 6 different support groups right across Tasmania, but we're always really interested to understand whether or not there's ways in which we can reach out to the community more effectively. One of the things that we've heard from our community is an opportunity or a gap at the moment in our support groups, especially for those with young onset or early onset Parkinson's. So I'd be very interested if people listening today were interested in helping us create a support group for those that are affected with young onset or early onset Parkinson's. That's something that we've been certainly looking at. Some people as well, they're not huge fans of rocking up face-to-face at a support group. So we're also looking at other ways in which we can support our people in the Parkinson's community. It was my dad, it was myself that has Parkinson's, and I felt very alone. I really wasn't sure who to talk to or how to get information or how to best support my mum, who was Dad's carer, or what I could do for my dad or my mum. That was really tricky for me, and So also interested in, linking up people that might also be in a similar situation. I think it's really important that we have connectivity. We know too that often people, once they are diagnosed, they feel they can often retreat into themselves and they really don't tell people of their diagnosis. When people are ready to or want to have a conversation or want to understand what supports are available, yeah, we've always got a friendly voice at the end of the phone, and we can make referrals to there's specific pathways. I haven't mentioned our incredible Parkinson's nurses that are employed through the Department of Health, but we're really lucky that we've got a really positive working relationship with our Parkinson's nurses. So if you are newly diagnosed and you're really not sure what the next step is because you're waiting for an appointment with a neurologist, we certainly can get you in touch with our Parkinson's nurses who are just incredible. That's probably the immediate things that we can do. There's also a lot of information on our website and on our Facebook feed too. We're trying to sort of update that every couple of days with information about support. And I think too, equipping yourself with knowledge and information is the best way to make informed decisions about how you want to manage your condition your way.
Thanks, Claire. We have another question for you. Someone wonders, do your support groups have a set structure or a process that's followed?
That's a really good question. Thanks, Sam. It's really, I guess in terms of structure, they're held on a monthly cadence, generally in the same place. I think it's about welcoming people, having an open conversation, feeling supported. If there was a structure that would work for people, would be really interested to hear about that. I'm not quite sure. There's no agenda. We don't step through certain things. I guess oftentimes we have speakers. I know Jane spoke recently at the Hobart support group. Michelle Mortensen, who's an OT in Launceston and also sits on the Parkinson's Tasmania board. I know she's invited to one of the support groups that are coming up in Launceston. So we try to have speakers come along to the support groups just to keep people informed about what's going on or what might be available, especially in the allied health part, and how important that is, I guess, for people to know what other services are available out there through exercise, speech, diet. There's lots of different support out there in the community.
Great. And one for maybe Claire and Jane. Do you know how many nurses we have in Tasmania compared with how many people living with Parkinson's?
Well, that's a really good question. Jane, do you know the statistics or I know there's 2 amazing nurses up in the north and northwest of the state. Jane, do you have the statistics or the numbers?
Yeah, I'm just pausing a little bit. So the short answer is we do not know exactly how many people have Parkinson's in Tasmania. That's one of the research projects we're doing actually to work that out. Estimated, we think about 3,000, but it is only an estimate. I think we could answer that more accurately probably in about 6 to 12 months. A colleague of ours, Barb de Graaf, is looking at exactly that question. How many nurses? Well, that keeps changing. And down in the south, because we have some part-time nurses, I believe it works out at about 1.6 full-time equivalent nurses, but that's split over 3 different people. And I think in the north, it's a little bit more, maybe like 2.5, something like that. I think the short answer is not enough. We definitely want more Parkinson's nurses, and I think we're all agreed with that. And there is some work trying to get more funding for those Parkinson's nurses because they do such a valuable job. So I think we're all agreed we need more. I think it would be nice actually if we asked one of the nurses to do a webinar for us. So we'll put the word in.
Great. Someone has also asked, they've had some trouble with diagnosis because of atypical symptoms, and wonders how close we are to providing a definitive diagnostic test for Parkinson's.
Yeah, that's a great question. So many of you will know that there is standard Parkinson's disease, but there are these rarer group of conditions called atypical Parkinsonism. Sometimes they've got acronyms to them like PSP, MSA, CBS, and so on. We talk a bit about this in the MOOC, but they're much rarer. But at the beginning, they can look quite similar to Parkinson's. So sometimes there's a misdiagnosis until it becomes a bit clearer later on. I think the short answer is there's not really a great diagnostic test. And again, that's part of why we're doing things like TAS test to try and improve that. Sometimes on an MRI brain scan, we see changes that make it much more likely you've got particularly PSP or MSA, these rarer conditions. But it's not so clear cut, to be honest. You can have a normal brain scan and still have one of those conditions. So what we often do as neurologists, it's a bit of detective work where we're looking for evidence from the clinical picture, from the brain scans, from other sort of tests, and then trying to piece it all together. But again, we need a diagnostic test, don't we? You know, it'd be great if we had a blood test or a particular scan or a computer test that could tell people from the beginning, this is what you have. And we're trying to change that with research, and there's a lot of research going on, but we're not there yet, unfortunately.
Thank you. And we have a query around duodopa and how successful you think it is.
Yeah, I can take that one. So duodopa, most people with Parkinson's will be on levodopa-based medications. That's things like Madapar, Sinemet, Kinson, and so on. And in the later stages of Parkinson's, it can be quite troublesome for people to get the benefits of levodopa. They still do. Levodopa works right up until the point of death, actually. But what happens for some people, they struggle to absorb it, or they're needing to take so many tablets, it just becomes problematic. And what duodopa does is it puts a little tube directly through the skin into the stomach, and it infuses a gel of something that's a bit like Sinemet. And you wear like a little pack over your shoulder, and it's pushing the gel through into the stomach directly. So it's what we call a device-assisted therapy. Not many people will need it, but it's there if people are finding they just can't get enough out of their tablets or other medications. And so is it successful? Yes, it's really successful. But you can hear that it does require a little procedure to put a tube into your stomach. It does require wearing a pack. So it's not something that most people would want straight away, but it's there if we need it for people that are getting complications.
Our family had lived experience of the duodopa and the pack. My dad, at the later stages of Parkinson's, had duodopa. He had to travel to Launceston for the procedure, but it made a huge impact on Dad. He was finding that just absorbing his medication just was very troublesome. And it was a marked difference quite quickly after he went through the procedure. And yes, he had a little pack, and he could give himself a little boost if he was finding that the duodopa wasn't quite hitting in. So for Dad and our family, it made a massive difference. And Dr. Matthew Lee Archer undertook that procedure up in Launceston, and yeah, it was a really successful thing for Dad.
That's great to hear. Thanks, Claire. And then we have another query about stem cell research and whether you've heard of any recent advances in that for Parkinson's treatment.
Yeah, it's a common question. I mean, stem cells get a lot of publicity. I think the short answer is it's not really a therapy we would recommend at this stage. It's very much been done within research studies. And it's not been quite as successful as we'd once first hoped. There's a few more complications with it. So I think it's an area of active research, but it's not something that we refer patients to.
Wonderful. Cool. Well, that is pretty much all the questions. We did have a comment from someone who's completed the MOOC and really appreciated Jane's presentations and all the interesting information. And they learn a lot through the course, being recently diagnosed, and it put their mind at ease over what to expect in the coming years, which is really great to hear.
Oh, that's lovely to hear that feedback. Thank you. We really appreciate everybody that gives us feedback on the MOOC. We hope it's really good, but of course, there's always little things we can change. So we really listen to your feedback. As I say, it is closed at the moment to new enrolments for a couple of months whilst we go through all that feedback. And then we hope to relaunch it again in a couple of months' time. It's been immensely successful, and we've had just some lovely feedback, particularly in terms of people feeling less afraid and just more, I think information, education gives some power back to people. If I might just finish with a question, I know, we really wanted to focus this on Parkinson's Tasmania and Mal's amazing challenge. So I just wondered if we could finish with you reminding us that if people wanted to find out more about the challenge or wanted to donate to support the challenge and support Parkinson's Tasmania, how do they do that?
What we're recommending is they go onto Facebook, look up Parkinson's Tasmania.
Yeah.
And there's our programs attached to the back of Parkinson's Tasmania's page, and there's a bucket load of information there, from a little bit of my own personal background through to what the boys are doing with the cars when we plan on leaving Hobart, right through to giving people the opportunity to follow us by just hitting a going or interested button on the media launch page, which is just a reminder for people on Friday the 13th of next month. And if they wanted to donate, there's a donate button on the back as well. So just with a little bit of trawling around, they can find everything and anything they want. And there's just while I think, but there's a copy of that video too, if you wanted to show someone the video that we made. That's all accessible and open to anybody who wants to use it.
Well, we would love to put your video on our Tasmania Parkinson's website if we're allowed to. If we're not, we're getting the nod. Okay, I was going to say we also do have a direct link to Parkinson's Tasmania from our website. So it sounds like you can either log onto our website and look up Parkinson's Tasmania, or go straight to the Parkinson's Tasmania Facebook page. Is that right, Claire?
Yeah.
Have I said all that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jane. Or you can just go directly to the Parkinson's Tasmania website. You can just pop a search in there, and there's a lovely hot pink donate button that will take you to a donations page. And I mean, credit to Mal and his mates. They're not doing it easy. The little Subarus, I got a cook's tour of them in Mal's garage recently, under the bonnet. You saw us in one of those photos there, and it's not going to be a comfortable journey, but Mal's got his mates around him, and it's all about making Parkinson's visible, and supporting our mates around us. So if you do have the capacity to make a donation, we would be really grateful.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you to Mal and Claire once again. It's been absolutely wonderful to have you on our webinar today. If people do have questions or queries afterwards, feel free to email us as well through the Tasmania Parkinson's Project. And we'll be, as I mentioned before, having regular webinars this year. So please join us again. Thank you very much to everyone that did join us today. And let's all keep working as a community to just really improve diagnosis, care, research and education around Parkinson's. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.